Hey there, everyone. This is Joyce Sang, content marketer based in Hong Kong. I help those with an entrepreneurial mindset explore their full potential with content. Today, I'm going to do something a little differently. Instead of just me talk about content marketing, I've invited a dear family friend who's actually in the realtor industry. And I want him to share a bit about his own brand, how he actually created his content online in order to attract potential leads as well as his clients. So I'm going to invite to our stream today Barton Lui. Hey there.
Hello, thanks for having
How,
me.
no worries. It's my pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's getting cold right now. I'm still working on my business, trying to finish the end strong.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know where you're from, but my audience is obviously is new to your face. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Barton. I was born in Hong Kong. I first came to Canada back, let's say 1995. I was 2 years old, and then I've spent a lot of time between Hong Kong and Canada. So I consider these two countries as my home country. I did most of my education in Vancouver, and a life-changing event kind of happened when I was introduced to roller skating. I believe I was 6 years old, and I've got kind of good at it. I'm not bragging, but I did won a little bit of competition in Hong Kong. I s-
Woo!
yeah, and then I switched to short track speed skating, which shortly I found out I can skate faster on ice. It's much cooler. It's not as sweaty in the summer. And at 16 years old, I decided to turn professional. I've been training in Canada, China, and Korea, and represented Hong Kong in multiple international competitions, as well as the 2014 Winter Olympics. And the rest is history. Yeah. Fast forward to today, I am currently a real estate agent at Oakland Realty in Vancouver, Canada. I do not specialize in one specific area. I kind of do like overall in Vancouver. Why real estate, you might ask? That's like a huge transition, right? I've been always thinking about doing something that challenged me. I'm not like a super creative guy, so I don't think I can do content marketing like you. I always want to mix ways, do my own marketing, set my own schedule, and to work as hard as I can to bring income to myself. This is my second year in this industry. The first year, I joined a real estate team as assistant. I deal with all the paperwork and all the back end work. And starting this year, I'm on my own right now. I joined a new brokerage, starting my own brand name called the Barton Realtor. I did not think too much about it. I just want to keep it simple so people can just see it and recognize me. And then later on, I kind of found out someone already took Barton Realtor and on Instagram and Facebook because Barton was their last name and Barton is my first name. So I have to switch a little bit.
Of course, I will also throw in Barton's handle of social media and his website down in the description below. So, of course, do check him out. If you're in town, if you're in Vancouver looking for a nice space or just maybe dropping down for coffee, I think Barton will be amazing to
Of
hang out
course.
with. For those of you who actually have visited my website before, I also associate myself as a slasher, what we call one person, multiple identities, testing out different careers, different opportunities. I think that's also why I really wanted Barton to be on here to talk to us because he's definitely has done that within different stages of his life, being an athlete and then now transitioning into real estate. And I think one of the interesting things that you've mentioned is you really jumped out from working for a company in the real estate industry and then starting your own brand, right? So now that
Yeah.
you have Barton Realtor, it's all about building your personal branding. And from what I can see in the market, especially in the whole content marketing industry, it's no longer restricted to people who are in the corporates, but more so for freelancers or other individuals who's trying to get clients or trying to get business under their own name. So when it comes to building Barton Realtor, establishing who Barton is online, how did you actually come about that? How did you figure out, okay, I want to portray myself as this sort of person, or I want to
Mhm.
be very professional, or I want to be more fun, or
Yeah.
how did you actually come about into creating the Barton online for new people
Yeah.
who's getting to know you?
So my personality is I smile a lot. I before I come up with my theme, my brand, I ask, friends and family around me and say, hey, when you think about me, what's the first thing that comes up to your mind? They'll be like, oh, you're always so positive, you're bubbly, obviously you're athletic, you're always outgoing. I agree with them about me. So I want to incorporate that into my business. I try to be the fun knowledge broker, the guy who can be professional, but also make all the mundane, news article and all that information out there much more easier to digest and to be their family realtor. You have family dentist, you have family doctor. I'm trying to get in and to be like the family realtor, not just there for the commission. I'm there for like long-term relationship. And that takes time to build, obviously, because trust, I need to earn that from everyone, especially with real estate, because it is, for most people, is their largest transaction of their lifetime. I take their time and money very seriously. Someone who have the local knowledge, have the experience to represent them in a buy and sell situation.
That's interesting as well. I think you touched up on two really cool points. One being building trust, right? That's one of the things that me and you, as customers ourselves, we really value and treasure right now because we have so many different options. When you're online, when you're
Yeah.
searching for realtors or just real estates, there's so many different options that comes up. And obviously, it's much easier for us to gravitate to a face and look at that person's content and be like, hey, that person is quite trustworthy. At least I can feel like I can leave a comment and get in touch with them
Yeah.
instead of going on to a corporate website where it feels much more colder or distant. And you always have to go through what we call perhaps a sales team or an inquiry box, much less personal. And I think that's a great point. The second thing that you've mentioned, which is also very interesting, and which is also something that I've received from a lot of inquiries from my own community, is about educational content. So you have a lot of local news insights, you have a lot of real estate insider news and industry trends and forecasts, things like that. Everybody's interested in these things, but at the same time, it's not very easy to be digest for somebody maybe who's a first-time homeowner who wants to not just learn about the area, the neighborhood, the opportunities out there, but also perhaps payment ways, banking, or other kind of financially related things that would be tagged along with their purchases. Now, when it comes to things like educational content, things that's relatively harder to digest for the general public, how do you go about that? What is your kind of way right now you've established to make it easier for your community and your audiences to understand?
Yeah. So when I started, be the knowledge broker, to be the guy that provide knowledge consultation, I started with articles, blog posts, photos can be posted on Facebook page, on my Instagram, and maybe just attach with description, explaining stuff like that. What I've noticed that it's easier for me to do that. I can post 5 times a day, but I noticed that I don't have a lot of any followers or increase or any even like new likes or attention. Because what I've noticed is that people attention span has been shorter, getting shorter and shorter, thanks to all the short form video platforms out there. There's TikTok, there's Reels and stuff like that. That's all competing for everyone's time. So I have to break through that, right? And just reading a large paragraph does not seem to make sense to most people nowadays. They prefer watch a 10-second videos. So I was like, okay, since photos and maybe long articles don't work that much anymore, maybe I should start making videos. I want to make it simple. I simply divide my content into two types, just like a long form and a short form. Long form is just your traditional horizontal YouTube videos. It's like 3 to 5 minutes long, talking about a topic more in depth. And short forms that goes on YouTube Shorts, Reel, and TikTok, and even my Instagram stories that can be finished within a minute. Try to put more focus now in Instagram because that's where I found I gain a lot of eyeballs from. I have old friends way back from high school. We bumped in the gym and he's like, yo, I seen your Instagram. How's real estate? And at that moment, I think I made the right move. So far, I don't think that will be my main source of leads generation though. It is a little bit different from, I would say, traditional sales because we are selling a service more. We do require a lot of face-to-face interaction. And the online component is just for me to bridge the gap so I can go and meet them and help them to go around and take a look at houses and stuff like that. But before that, obviously, I can warm them up online. So when they see me or if they call me, they already kind of like know me personally, even though I've never met them. That's what I'm trying to achieve here. You know, when people call me, either see my Facebook ads, I say, hey, I love the photo, like the property you posted last week. I'm interested. Can you just bring me there? That's like my ultimate goal. It is hard because the market obviously right now is a little bit weaker. That's something that I can't control. It's been really, really hot earlier this year, but as a self-employed real estate agent, I need to adapt to the economy. Right? Interest rate is now high. Buyers are more hesitant to jump into the market. So I need to provide even more. I have to double down my educational video. Since they're not actively searching, I need to work my way in to beef up my online portfolio, I would say. So when they are actually ready to go, they will search me up on Google. Most people will still do that. I've noticed that YouTube has been used as a search engine more and more right now. So I would love to spend more time in making more hyper local content on YouTube just to protect my turf here in Vancouver. So when people search top real estate in Vancouver, Fairview, my name or my channel will be up there. By no means I'm not a good video editing, but I look at other real estate agents just to put more into my own style of marketing.
I think you covered a lot of different grounds there, and it's super insightful. Even if you're an audience that has not even started a business, you're just considering it or looking out for options and thinking about if I were to start a brand myself, how can I tackle it? I think you covered a lot of interesting points for people to consider. So I'm hearing a lot of really cool things I like. Just to repeat, and for people to understand some of the key points, the first thing being what Barton has mentioned is that it's so important to be understanding the target audience or just the audience's preferences, right? So in the beginning, you tried doing some sort of long form and you realized it didn't work. So you pivoted. I think that's very important for any people to understand as well. If you're just starting out on doing marketing or just trying to tell people about your brand, this is one thing that I emphasize myself as well. It's great that you have your gut feel, but your gut feel is not going to be the same as your target audiences, right? Because you're the one selling the service, you're not the one buying the service. Even though we're still human beings, we know what we prefer, but your gut feel here with content marketing or just with marketing isn't really that important. That's one of the points that I always emphasize as well, right? Understand what your target audience preferences are and try to pivot from that in order to achieve the messaging that you want to deliver to them. Second thing you've mentioned as well with the videos and short forms, right? Now, I think that's a controversial kind of topic for a lot of different people to talk about as well, where some people are very against it, saying, yeah, a lot of people like short form videos. However, posts can still work. However, long form blogs can still work. However, this other sort of content topics still work. Now, I'm completely in favor of that as well. I believe that short form videos is very powerful, which is why we all invest in it. I myself included as well. I do short form videos on YouTube as well as on Instagram. Sadly, we don't have TikTok here in Hong Kong, so I can't really check out your channel.
Oh,
It got banned, but yeah, I mean, like
what do you
it's still
guys
very,
use?
we
Like,
can't
what's
use it. We just don't use it. We just don't use
okay?
it. We're just on Instagram. But we get a lot of reposted kind of TikTok viral materials on other channels. So we're
Hmm.
still kind of in the scope of it. We know what's happening.
Yeah.
We know the formats. We know the influencers that's on TikTok as well. But we just can't really participate actively in it here in Hong Kong. We're kind of taken into
Hmm.
the passive audience stance and just looking at it through another channel. But all in all, I think there are going to be new formats coming up every single year, every single month, or even just in weeks, right? You have things like you've mentioned, like Reels on Instagram, like Be Real now. We had the
Mhm.
Clubhouse phase, which happened in the earlier this year. There's always going to be a new format, a new distribution. What's most important, other than understanding your audience's preference, is that you know what you want to talk about. Stay true to that, understand what messaging you want to talk about, and try to develop that into the best practice that is on distribution channels available right now for you. So it's not
Mhm.
just about blindly following trends, but also being being able to find something that fits your own behavior as well, right? If you feel like you're
Mhm.
going to die creating a video, my advice is don't get into it then, right? Because then you're not going to be able to upkeep the consistency. You're probably just going to upload it once and then stress about it over the whole month and be like, God, I don't want to do another
Yeah.
one. Then there's really no point. So I think with formatting and distribution channel, that's always been my idea and my opinion with it. Find something that fits you as well so that you are able
Mhm.
to consistently produce quality content on it, or else you're
Yeah.
kind of just half-assing, right? You're just trying to push out something because people are there and you try to take advantage of it. That's never really an amazing thing. The other thing
Mhm.
you've mentioned, which hands down is one of the things that I think everybody should be celebrating, apart from the actual metrics or the likes or the following and all that kind of what we call vanity metrics, is go offline, right? Talk to people. Stop thinking that online social
Yes.
media platforms is going to just get you there instantly. For some people, maybe. I'm always very skeptical about this. I believe myself, I think maybe you would agree, is that we're not like
Mhm.
super lucky. We're not like the people who just get fame all of a sudden and I post one video and I become famous. We're not that sort of people. As an
Yeah.
athlete, you would understand it takes hard work, it takes commitment and investment in order for you to succeed. And when it comes to marketing, you need to be offline too, right? And that's where you really
Exactly.
find that success, where you're talking to people and they're like, hey, I saw you somewhere. I received your material somewhere. And,
Yeah.
I already know about you. That is the magic I think you probably didn't know you're doing at the time and
Mhm.
moment. You're just pushing out stuff thinking that's good for my brand. But in essence, you're doing content marketing because you're offering valuable and helpful information for these people. And you're shortening what we call the sales period. You don't actually go through
Mhm.
at I'm Barton, I do this, I'm the person for Fairview, and you don't have to talk about all that other stuff anymore because it's already online. And that's the
Yeah.
most important thing when it comes to creating content or doing content marketing, is that you don't have to be the one talking 24/7. Your content is doing that for you every single day.
Mhm.
That's the main point of it. So I'm really digging all the things that you're talking about, regardless or not if you realize it during the point in time, but definitely you're doing it. You're telling your own story, you're giving out value, you're using the platforms accordingly, you're pivoting based on your target audience's preference, and you're seeing results. Let's not talk all the way to leads and revenue and all that kind of stuff, but you're seeing results as to people are gravitating towards your content. They're
Yeah.
understanding what you're doing through your efforts so that you're able to justify all the hard work you've put into creating
Mhm.
videos, blogs, blah, blah, all these other kind of stuff. But can you tell us a little bit more
Mhm.
as to some of the bigger struggles? Like you tried doing this and it's like it didn't work. Like it wasted so much of my time. Perhaps something
Yeah.
maybe even about your Facebook ads. How is that
Yeah.
going for you? What didn't work?
So one of my biggest struggle with ads was Google Ads. I spent a lot of money on Google. I did gain a lot of impressions, some clicks, but I didn't get any calls. Google Ads, it's gotten really complicated, but I think in order to make it really work, it does require some minimum expertise in Google Ads. Facebook, it's slightly better. I can set like a budget and then it just goes and run. I did get a few deals out of that, but most of the leads that came through all these ads were not really actually buyers. They might just be out there and try to talk to someone. I spent $1,000 Canadian, almost 5K Hong Kong dollars, and I've gotten like two phone calls, and one of them was like, "Oh, sorry, I thought you're renting an apartment." I tried offline. Offline requires a lot of capital because just one or two postcards is not gonna work. I've asked like a few experienced agents here. It requires up to 30 touches per year. Every new sale, every holiday, Christmas, Boxing Day, Chinese New Year, like it requires constant physical card sent to their door in order to get a phone call or two within 2 or 3 years. So it does take time to farm an area. Like you have a neighborhood where you just blast them with newsletter, a sticker on a door hanger. If it's an apartment, the marketing strategy will be a little bit different. But here in Vancouver, we still have a lot of single detached houses where you can go to their door and hopefully you can meet them face to face. Door knocking was also one of the strategy, very traditional door-to-door sales. it did not work really well. I try, as a new agent, I try everything. We go to the street, dress up nicely, have your business card ready, go knock on the doors. You knock and, hey, my name is Barton. I'm a real estate agent. I'm your local real estate agent. You have to say you're local. I know this area. Do you know anyone who might require real estate assistant? 9 out of 10 times, you'll be like, no, thank you. Slam the door. But yeah, you just gotta move on. Other offline marketing that I've tried but not too successful was direct mail, handwritten letter. Try to be more personalized. I spent a lot of time writing, but also I didn't get any response. Kind of sad. And then I look back to my reels and Instagram. I just put a video and I got like 7,000 eyeballs. It's like, where should I direct my resources and time? As soon as I'm able to build that network, hopefully my business can be run on referrals. I do have like friends and family who know or refer me someone. I'm trying to grow that way too.
I think that's also really cool insights as well. Unless I asked you, I would not know that certain traditional methods are still being adopted. I respect the hard work as well. Handwritten
Yeah.
letters, I've been there too. But that's definitely
Mm,
still something that speaks to a certain group of audiences. I did written materials for influencers.
mm,
So when I really wanted to get them on my side, on my brand side, I had to write them stuff. And for those people, they really appreciate it because most of the time they're being outreached by PR. But that's another story. Going back to
mm,
what you mentioned about Facebook ads, why I actually wanted to understand a bit more about your struggle and ask you particularly on your paid efforts is because 9 out of 10 of the people and the leads that I get that come into my inbox, they all struggle with Facebook ads. Like all of them. They come in, Joyce, I don't know why it doesn't work. I put in so much money, it just doesn't work. And then they're starting to think about if ads doesn't work and my organic random video does, what is going on? What can I do better? And what is it? Exactly the questions you're asking. What is the priority of my marketing mix and where should I focus my budget or
mm,
at least my efforts in? And that's why I really wanted to understand your story behind that as well. When it comes to things like Facebook ads, let's just put the Google ads slightly aside. We'll touch back on that a bit later on.
mm.
But with
Yeah.
Facebook ads, the problem is first thing, a lot of people kind of scroll through and scroll past without really understanding your message. Even myself, I'm not an expert in copywriting unless you are able to flesh out this boom advertisement that not just gravitates to your target audiences, captures their attention, but is able to deliver your message very, very rapidly. What you're going to get through your click throughs is not going to be what we call high quality leads. So what you've mentioned, people
Mm.
just kind of stumbled across or like completely
Yeah.
confused as to what you're trying to sell and wasted your ad budget, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of these problems, and that being one of them is the messaging. It's very hard. Second thing is when it comes to the more technicality side of it, the targeting when it comes to Facebook ads. So this is one of the things that I do go through with some of my clients as well. A lot of them, when they start their targeting list for their Facebook ads, it's based on what they would presume as their high intended customers. So people who are already, for your example, searching for real estates, lives in the area of a particular demographic that you recognize them being able to have the purchasing power to buy properties that you represent and things like
Mhm.
that. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work, but it really works in a specific stage of what we call the content funnel. It works on the very bottom where, like you've mentioned, people who are highly intent and they're like, I'm looking for a house. That's the people that you will reach based on a targeting that's similar to that. However, like you
Mhm.
said, within the market right now, there's not a lot of high intended leads, right? The high intended ones, most likely you have covered on foot. So you're duplicating that marketing process, which is why the ads might not have generated the results that you want. Vice versa to that, what I would consider a better way to approach it is by mentalities. So what that means is include a lot of target audience research. So for example, me and you, different people. Yes, we grew up in Vancouver. Yes, we have family, friends, and our parents know each other, blah, 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 right? But my background is very different from yours, except for we graduated from the same university, except for our love for coffee, right? Now, these are the qualities apart from demographics. These are kind of like mentalities. What do UBC graduates have in common? We all went to, I don't know, I'm just making this up. We all went to the rec or do something. You know, we're all into a certain type of sport, or we all like Tim Hortons. I don't know, I'm just generalizing that. But the mentality within these people who might be intentional buyers is actually a better targeting than to target their physicality or their demographics.
Mhm.
So one example would be like if me and you both love street food and I went on Facebook and I looked for behavior or like pages on street food, you would reach people that with the same mentality, but perhaps outside of the very strict demographics that you have set. But that doesn't mean they're not interested in purchasing a house or know people that's interested in purchasing a house or
Mhm.
potentially in 1 year or 2 years time might think of you and say, I saw that ad, Barton something, Fairview, let's look back at him and look for him. So with Facebook ads, that's one of the so-called easier solutions that I would use in order to increase the effectiveness and drive down your cost per click, if that is the objective of your Facebook ad.
Mhm.
When it goes back to the Google search ads, I think also that's something that a lot of clients and leads struggle with, is because at the end of the day, it requires what we call whole funnel setup. So if you're just
Mhm.
driving people that searches for real estate Fairview, they might come on your website. Now, of course, that considering how well prepped your website is it very easy for them
Mhm.
to find where to call you, or is there information there, or does your meta description on the Google search actually correspond to the content that they will land on when they go into your website, so on and so forth. But put them those aside, is that if they go onto your website, is there any way for you to follow up with them? Is there any way for them to explore
Mhm.
and navigate more in your content so that even
Mhm.
if they don't check out right now because they're not highly intended or they aren't actually looking to buy a house, they're still getting content and value from you, which is able to let them remember who you are. So those are
Mhm.
some of the things that might increase the efficiency of ad spend, even though some of them might be what we call invisible metrics, right? I can't really measure if that person came in, didn't buy, didn't check out, didn't drive a lead, didn't call you, but remembers you down the road, right? We can't really measure that. But that is
Mhm.
the essence of doing these multiple stages of content within the funnel so that you cover what you already are doing. Your top funnel, getting all these people's awareness based on your Instagram reels and your Instagram
Mhm.
videos, TikTok, all that kind of stuff, all the way down to your educational content where they're like, if I'm doing research, I'm going to land on Barton, to the thing that you've mentioned as being your goal. I want people to think of Fairview and think of me as a realtor, as a local,
Mhm.
your partner realtor. So that's a whole kind of funnel setup that is really required if you're hoping to generate so-called leads from the top awareness, nice flashy numbers you're getting, the 7,000
Mhm.
eyeballs, to an actual sales or
Yeah.
to an actual potential call in. That's kind of the mentality that people need to kind of
Mhm.
understand after being able to do that first stage of the things that you're doing, creating the content, representing your brand, getting the eyeballs, into actually driving any sort of effective ROI, so return on investment,
Mhm.
based on your marketing initiatives. So I
Right.
think that overall, there's a lot of things that can be done, but I think the best thing that you've already realized very early on is that content really works. You can go out and walk 3,000 houses and people don't care. They
Mhm.
will not remember you. You can mail all the kind of postcards you want to, but if they're not going to remember you, they're not going to remember you. The benefit of being on social media is that you're increasing all these touch points. The person that told you, right, the 30 touch
Mhm.
points throughout the year. When it comes
Mhm.
to online, the benchmark that was from last year, 2021, was 12 touch points. If you had 12 touch
Mhm.
points with the person, it's very likely for them to go from the top of your funnel to the bottom of your funnel. Now the numbers are
Okay.
increasing, as you can imagine, right? You know, I
Mhm.
want more, I want more. And what better
Yeah.
way is there to create high value content that gets distributed across your different channels? That is kind of the consolidated quick answer to some of the
Yeah.
questions that not only you have, but a lot of people who are growing their personal
Mhm.
brand do have. Now, one last little point to just round up the conversation, which is super interesting. I think we should do another one next time as well. There's a
Yeah.
lot more I want to learn about. I say this is the part one of 2022 Barton's Realtors, little personal branding. What
Yeah.
is the next step, right? Like now that you've explored certain distribution channels, you have
Yeah.
certain metrics when it comes to certain of your content, you know what works, you know what doesn't. What do
Yeah.
you think you want to do next? What's the next thing?
I would say I would love to have more data around who's seen my stuff so I can better engage them in the future. Because like all those eyeballs, as you've mentioned, they're flashy, they look nice, but what am I gonna do with it? Like I honestly, I don't know right now. How can I capture them? How can I direct them to my website? And maybe I have to revamp my website to better attract their attention, to give more value so they can sign up for a newsletter. All those stuff that is still in progress. I'm still building the habit of producing content. And the next step is to solidify that skill and then to build on my other skill, which is how to retain them. The retention rate is super low right now. I'm sure there are a ton of metrics and systems out there I can use. But overall, I think 2023, we have like, I don't know, it's almost December. It's almost Christmas. A lot of realtors are going to be away. A lot of home buyers or sellers are going to be put on hold for the purchases. You know, they're trying to spend time with family and stuff like that. Maybe I can use this time to beef up my online presence and hopefully I come back stronger next year.
That's great. First of all, again, thank you so much for jumping on this chat with me. I think we all learn a lot from your experience. It's been only 2 years with your own personal branding that you jumped out. And I think that's a really great benchmark for a lot of just maybe you're in real estate, the industry, or
Mhm.
you're in other sort of industry, is that
Yeah,
2 years, as you mentioned with Barton right here, he's done a lot. And he's only covering the first two stages of what we call a full kind of content marketing process: creating the content, planning it out, establishing your messaging, actually doing the content. And now he's in the
mhm,
phase of being able to refine and understand what better
yeah,
content he can create based on the metrics that he has achieved. two
yeah,
years is something that you really need to invest in. A lot of people think you could just jump in by 2 months and get something done.
yeah,
It's not true, right? It's really not true. But there are smarter ways for you to get it done and not make certain mistakes if you were to do a bit more research and learn a bit more about your own content, explore in it, and consistently produce things that's on brand, right? Don't get
mhm,
jumpy and get distracted based on trends or like new things, but just stay on the route that you're on and try to make the best
yeah.
content that you can. So again, thank you so much for jumping on here. For those of you who are watching, be sure to check out all the other videos on my channel. If you want to learn a bit more about Barton and check out his educational content about real estate in Fairview here in Vancouver, be sure to check out the description below. And of course, I'll see you guys again next time. Thank you.
Bye.